Beyond the Scoreboard podcast here on the Lawrence County SportsNet, powered by LCAP, delivered by Penn Ohio Bottled Water. Give them a call for delivery of your 3 or 5 gallon water cooler systems, or get cases of bottles delivered straight to your home or work. It's, oh my goodness, midway point after this week of the 2024 football season. As we recap Week 3 and preview Week 4 here on the podcast, I'm James Dotson with Lee Moan, Tim Continenza, and joining in the studios, Coach Mazzacco
thanks
of Newcastle.
for having me, guys.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for coming in and joining us here in our LCAP studios, the 3-0 Newcastle Red Hurricanes, and that's it's been a long time since Newcastle's been able to say that, but another big one this week against Knock. We'll talk about that, but just talk a little bit about the start of the year here, Coach, and the things that you've continued to grow on and coming in and doing what we all were hoping and expecting you'd be able to do.
Right. We've been able to get off to a good start, and that's a great thing. We've just put a lot of time and effort into the season, starting with these young men first and foremost. They've been there all winter, all spring, all summer. They put a lot of time into this season, so it's just great to get off to a hot start for them. And hopefully, we're taking a game-by-game approach. Hopefully we can keep it rolling, because right now there's a lot of excitement in the community.
We'll talk obviously about the skill players, but I want to talk about Marcus Diaz, one of your big guys, one of the leaders in the weight room. Talk about what he's meant, and then what it also meant. First game of the year, he nearly gets a touchdown for you, a big man touchdown on a recovery.
Yeah, Marcos right off the bat in that first game, he made a big play for us, deflection, and he covered 5 yards or so to get to that football. So he moves pretty well for a big man, and rumbled for about 15, 20 extra yards. I didn't think they were bringing him down, but that was great to see. That sort of picked everybody up, and we were loose after that. We played really loose. We played with a lot of emotion, and that was the kickoff for it.
A great back and forth game there against General McLean, and then falling behind early last week against York, obviously coming back and scoring the last 27 points on that. Talk about that importance of seeing your team playing from behind and not being like, oh no, here we go again. They're taking charge.
Right. That's been one of the positives that we've looked at this year as a coaching staff, that we have been down. We have had some adversity hit, and we try to preach to them, don't scoreboard watch, just play every play, make every play the most important play. And at the end of the 48 minutes, if you do that more times than not, we're going to be on top at the scoreboard. So that's sort of our mindset there.
Also had to be nice with technically 3 home games to start the year. Only officially became 2.5 a quarter. But
right.
Talk about what it's like playing at home, and now, back in the day, playing for you at home, and now being able to coach at home there at Taggart Stadium.
Right. It was great. That first night there was a nice crowd there. Down the stretch, it was electric in that stadium. We could barely hear ourselves talk. So that was, like I said, old school Taggart Stadium at its finest right there. So we're hoping to keep those fans up and keep everybody excited moving forward.
Talk a little bit about Kyrell Harris. I mean, a 3-year starter, you knew he was going to be somebody you could rely upon, but using both the arms and the legs extremely well in the early going.
Yeah, I knew Kyrell was a great athlete, of course. Watching him play basketball, didn't get to watch him play football much because I was somewhere else. But, checking out his highlights and watching film from last year, I knew he could be something special. And he has put a tremendous amount of time into his craft, working together with Ron DePorzio. And, they've gone through everything as far as footwork, progressions, reads. And he's been very coachable and a great young man to lead our team up to this point. So
I'm glad you mentioned Coach DePorzio. Talk about him and talk about some of the other coaches who were with you at Neshannock and made the move over here to Nika High.
Sure. Coach DePorzio has been with me, since I went up to Neshannock. And, he's one of the most loyal people that you could imagine. And he does an excellent job with the young men. He's a great mentor to them. Not only, the one thing about my staff when I put it together, it had to be a staff that not only came and coached at practice, but was available to be with these young men throughout the day, whatever they need. 24 hours a day, they know we're on call with them. If they need something, they know they can call on us. And, we got Ron DePorzio, we got Mark Hassan, we got Ryan Fermi, Chris Sapienza, I pulled him out of retirement. He's been a great help for us. Pat Kane, former Red Hurricane, 4 WPIAL titles there for him, 3 in hoops and 1 in football. So he's great to have around.
He brings back bad memories. I live in Butler, so.
Yeah. Just a great athlete. I have my son, Michael, coaching with us, receivers. Nice. We have Peyton Weaver down there with us from the Shannick. Those younger guys, Jordan Lyles, Gianni Oliva played for me at Neshannock. Man, they bring a lot of energy to the program. So we have a great mix of our older staff that we've been with. I don't know if I mentioned Ryan Fermi's name. I think I did. But anyway, everybody just works together. We pull off of each other's strengths and weaknesses. And, now we got this young group coming in and, we're sort of grooming them and they're bringing a bunch of energy to the program at the same time. So it's been a lot of fun.
We're talking here with Coach Fred Mazzocca of the Newcastle Red Hurricanes. It's the Beyond the Scoreboard podcast here at lcsportsnet.com. I'm James Dotson, Tim Continenza, and here is Lee Moan. So some questions for Coach Mo.
Yeah, doing a little bit of research on you taking the job, I saw it was very important for you to be at the school all day and talk a little bit about that importance for that.
Yeah, that when I was approached about taking the program over, one of the things that I felt was important with the state of the program was to be in the building, and that's something that I made the board aware of, and they came back and there was an opportunity there and they were able to make that happen for me, becoming the athletic director. So I'm in the building full time. The kids are down there, throughout the day as they change classes, and we have that office filled up with protein bars and drinks for them or whatever they need, and they appreciate that. Plus, if there's something going on in the school maybe that shouldn't be, I get those courtesy phone calls as well, and I'm right there. So that helps out a lot too.
I was going to say,
has there been a learning curve for being an athletic director?
Oh, absolutely.
What kind of challenges have you been facing for that?
Oh, it's just nonstop. It's nonstop. It starts early in the morning and it ends. Well, it really doesn't end, but your phone goes off all hours of the night. So there's always something going on that you have to address.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of great athletic directors out there in the area, and they're all very helpful. So it's been a great and a fun learning curve. I went from being a commercial lender to an athletic director. So it's pretty like a 360.
With all that in mind, what you were talking about earlier about being in the classrooms or being in the building, how important that presence every day and your players to know who you are and where you're at. I've talked to a lot of coaches over the years, and that's something that they always. I had one coach who retired, and the next day he coached the next season, and then after the season he retired from coaching. He says it's just different. I'm not there. The kids and I just don't have the same communication that I used to have with them. And just talk about that. I mean, that seems to be really important. I mean, obviously you can see the start of the season was important, and you got that 3-0, and just having that communication on a daily basis.
Yeah, it's great to be in the school with all the young men. I was able to develop relationships with them really quick. I came in January 2nd, and that was basketball season. So, everybody's swinging by, popping in the office, introducing themselves. Then we started workouts right away, and, we just bonded real quick. They know I'm there. They know if they need something, I'm there for them. But you get to sit down at times with them and chat about, things that they like, other hobbies that they like, things that they like to do, and you get to know them as a person. So I feel that was very important.
Just
with
the challenges of the school day itself.
Yes, taking over the program and developing these relationships.
And speaking of that real quick, you mentioned other hobbies. Supposedly Cairo Harris is like 245 and 20 in ping pong.
That's what they tell me.
Yeah.
But,
They haven't played you yet, though,
I told him he hasn't played me yet.
Yeah, well, they said that. Yeah, he said they haven't beat the teachers. They haven't been able to beat the teachers yet.
Yeah,
so.
I know. I hear those balls going all day. So I know they play an awful lot of ping pong down there.
Coach, you just talked about basketball season. You got a bunch of obviously multi-sport athletes, especially from that basketball team. Talk about some of those receivers, especially. I mean, Nate McKnight, Chase Lemon, a little guy, working great job as a receiver, and Damian Harrison coming out this year as well. Let's talk about that transition and working obviously with Coach Blundo with sharing athletes.
Right. Those young men you mentioned are extremely talented athletes, and Chase Lemon, he plays with a fire that you can't imagine. He reminds me a lot. Their bodies are different. They play different positions, but he's like a Peyton Weaver was for me at Neshannock. Just a fireball and a great leader for us. Nate McKnight's been lights out. I feel he's a young man who's very under recruited. I believe that before the season ends, he's going to be getting some offers from somewhere once they see his highlight film. And getting Damian has been great because we can stretch the field now with two long receivers, Nate 6'1", Nate being 6'1", and Damian being 6'3". And then we have Quaylen Davis, 6'4". At the tight end position, you have Mason Cook, who also plays receiver. He's 6'2". Those guys all play basketball. They're great athletes. And the nice thing about it is, Coach Blundo and I have a lot of the same mindsets as far as discipline goes and things like that. So he knows that, I'm instilling the same values in them that he would, and I know that he's doing the same. So that's very important.
All those athletes, and then you throw in a Kayvon Gardner, a WPL champion sprinter as well in your backfield.
Yeah, no doubt. Kayvon, we haven't seen his best yet. He's gonna come out here and light it up here real soon for us. Hopefully this week we get him off to a good start. We're still in early stages of turning this program around, and with the blocking schemes and that type of stuff. So he's starting to get a nice feel for the offense. You can see it in practice, and we expect some big numbers coming out of him.
Let's talk about this week then against Knock, a very quality team, and also in Class 4A, one of the other conferences, one last non-conference game. But just talk about what you see important for you guys to do, and then what you see important in what you've seen for Knock on film of how to address their offensive strategies.
First and foremost, these non-conference games now with in Quad A, you have 2 wild cards that are going to be chosen. So it's very important. People think these non-conference games don't mean everything. They mean the world to us. We want to win every game possible, because at the end, if you're not one of the top 2 teams, you got to be one of the next 2 to get selected by that committee. So you got to do everything in your power, get every win you can. That's why it was so devastating to us to miss that Highlands game.
Right.
That would have been a competitive game, but we felt it was a game that we would have came out on top of, and they're a highly ranked AAA team. But, that's water under the bridge now. We're moving forward. We want to win every football game possible and just keep moving in that direction.
One final question, not just for this game, but to be competitive in this very difficult Parkway Conference. What's the biggest thing you want to see your team keep improving on from, as you say, one week to the next? But what do you want to keep seeing that constant progression? Yeah,
we're trying to focus on the little things right now. We want to cut down on penalties, silly mistakes, jumping off sides, holding calls that aren't necessary. Maybe the plays down at the other end of the field and someone still on the other side, maybe reaching out, grabbing somebody, those type of things. We want to clean up and get rid of them. You're going to get holding calls and different penalties at times because of your aggression, but when you don't need to, we got to cut that stuff out. And especially the one thing that especially is the offside stuff. So
yeah. Pre-snap penalties, hear that all the time now, don't we? Coach, I appreciate it. Best of luck this week. We'll see you out there at Taggart on Friday night.
All right, one more thing before I leave. I got to give a shout out to the O-lineman.
Absolutely. Please,
He'll be very upset with me. So Brian Stevens, our right tackle, tremendous job this year. Demetrius Fambro, Marcus Diaz, as we talked about earlier, Joey Picaro, and Jaden Schaefer. Great job for us, and they're getting better and better every week. And we have 2 guys who back them up. We got Hank Ritter and Davion Blackshear. So
Yeah.
they've been a great group of kids to work with.
Yeah, linemen don't usually get the love.
That's right.
You know, so that's a good shout out.
And I'm the line guy, Coach Sept and I. So we work with these linemen. If I don't give them a shout out, they're going to give me.
They're not going to work for you.
Well,
you,
we
guys.
appreciate their work and your work, Coach, and we'll be seeing you on Friday night.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, you got it.
That's Coach Fred Mazzacco of Newcastle here joining us off the bench on our Beyond the Scoreboard podcast. We're going to step aside. We'll come back and we'll recap all of last week's games and get ready for the preview of next week's competitions here on the Lawrence County SportsNet podcast series, Beyond the Scoreboard, lcsportsnet.com, powered by LCAP.
All right.
Penn Ohio
Appreciate
Bottled
it.
Water
Thank you so
offers the
much.
fastest and most efficient bottled water delivery service in the area. Penn Ohio offers bottled water
Guys
ranging
do a
from
great job.
16.9 ounce
Appreciate it,
bottles
man.
to 5-gallon jugs. Perfect for your next event or office water cooler.
Glad to be able to do it.
Also, don't forget to ask about their custom labeling options. Visit PenOhioBottledWater.com for more information and to get a quote on their delivery service. Whether it's at home, in the office, or on the sideline, Penn Ohio has you covered.
15,000 people jammed in the town.
Oh, yeah. I would love to see us get back to that again. But
So much fun.
I remember, just as a young kid, like when I was in junior.
Thank you for calling Axe. Where can we take you today?
the mall.
To work, to the store, to Grandma's house. Axe can get you there, but it's much more than a ride. It's a joyride.
I'm helping people. I'm getting them out of their house. I'm taking them to their doctors, to the grocery store.
They say I'm entertaining. Okay, we laugh, we joke, we sing, we tell stories.
They're like family to us.
Even if it's the same day, to schedule your joyride, call Axe today.
I love what I do because coming in every day is different.
How can you not enjoy these kids coming up and hugging you and giving you these great smiles all throughout the day?
Seeing the progress that our kids make every single day is one of the reasons I love coming to school.
What should we do? We have fun.
LCAP Early Learning Centers is hiring. Help empower young minds in Lawrence County and become a superhero today. Apply at lcap.org.
Whether you're hosting a big party, it's family dinner night, or you just need a place to go and watch the big game, the Crane Room Grill is the place to be. Need that something special for your upcoming event? Ask about the CR Brewing Company's custom brewing options to give your big day that personalized touch that your guests will never forget. Visit craneroom.com to see their full menu, or call in your takeout order now at 724-656-1553. The Crane Room Grill and CR Brewing Company, a winning combination.
thanks again to Coach Fred Mazzacco. There we go. Thanks again. Thanks again to Coach Fred Mazzacco for joining us here in our LCAP studios. It's the Lawrence County SportsNet, powered by LCAP, Beyond the Scoreboard, delivered by Penn Ohio Bottled Water. Stay refreshed by enjoying hot or cold water at the click of a button, or you can enjoy a cup of coffee with our bottom-loading water cooler option. Lee Moan and Tim Continenza alongside Matt Flannery, our producer extraordinaire, out there as well. With Tim and Lee, I'm James Dotson. Let's look back at Week 3, gentlemen, real quick. Let's start with that Newcastle game against the Yacht Cougars. A 27-7 win. We talked about it. They trailed 7-0 early, but they've done a lot this year, Lee, already. These come from behind victories, back and forth. It has been fun to watch what this team can do so far this season.
Yeah, the speed. It's fun to watch the speed that they have. I wanted to ask Coach Mizalka if it's the quickest team he's ever had, because they got just downright great sprinters and playmakers on that offense, and it's gonna be good for the confidence, though. I mean, when you're falling behind and you're coming back, and I wish they could have played that Highlands game, because go back to what he said, that it's not about numbers now for those playoff positions. It's the committee's going to choose the two teams now, so that's plays a big factor into it.
And when the Parkway has already Aliquippa and Montour that are almost consensus
Guaranteed,
one, two in the state, and in West Allegheny, obviously a great ranked team in Class 4A. I mean, that could potentially be 1, 2, and one of the wild cards. Newcastle against Knock. This is why this is such an important game, because Knock is probably going to be a number 2 or number 3 team out of their conference, so that if you have that, the number 3 team out of this conference lost to the number 4 or potential 5 team out of the Parkway, I mean, that can speak volumes in terms of what conference is the best to get those wild card games.
Yeah, well, that wild card makes it difficult to figure out how to fill it properly, and you are going to match up. You're going to see who beat whom and how it all turns out. I think really you're going to look at a lot of stats. I mean, points for and points against,
common opponents.
Yeah, common opponents. Stuff like that are going to matter. So I think, as crazy as it sounds, if you ever have a chance to put that extra touchdown on the board, you probably will.
Mm-hmm.
And in the same vein, if you can see a defense that, like Newcastle, at least statistically showing improvement each week, I think that's going to speak volumes for anybody who's really looking at it. Because let's be honest, there's more video today for games that you can. I just don't expect those who are in the committee to actually look at every game and watch, the 2 hours, 2.5 hours of every game of every opponent.
Sort of like they do in college football.
Yeah, exactly. That's my biggest fear is that you just have, I know about them, but I don't know what they are.
Right.
And you're making a decision on a team. That's the hard part.
I'm going to do my Jim Halpert here. Yeah, they watch everything.
Yeah.
But 27-7 was the final score of that contest to go 3-0. And in that game, a couple of touchdown passes from Kyrell Harris, one to McKnight and one to Harrison. Oh, by the way, Kyrell also had a 94-yard touchdown run himself as well to really break it open.
What a surprise.
Been fun to watch him. 8 touchdowns, 1 pick on the year. Also very impressive numbers for Kyrell Harris to start the season. The one game last week featuring 2 in-county teams. How about this shootout between Elwood City and Mohawk? The Wolverines also 3-0 for the first time since 2011. Last time that they started the year.
Wow.
With a 3-0 beginning. I believe that was also before last year, the last time they had made the postseason. But a couple of high-scoring games, to say the very least, for Elwood City over the course of the year. Started off slow against Laurel, but that offense has really sparked. And another big day for Elijah Palmer McCain. About a 4-touchdown night there, Lee, for EPM.
Yeah, he's starting to finally get on track. He said the first game of the year, not the crispest game in the world for Elwood City and Coach Dan Bradley, but he's got him playing well. And if you can get Palmer and McCain on track, that just opens up everything else.
Talk about the passing leaders, though, too, with Chris Smiley. He just went over 3,000 career yards in the last game as well there, Tim. So getting the balance, because he also had 2 touchdown passes, did Chris Smiley in that game.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Smiley is such an important part because he has to play within himself and he has to be able to get others involved. Obviously, anytime you have EPM, you feel pretty good. You have the ball. Yeah, he can go inside and outside and do a lot of things. But they have a tight end to use. They have some things. What he needs to do is be accurate and be confident. And you're seeing him grow as a quarterback. Like I said, the numbers maybe, not outstanding looking, like you might see 5 of 12 or or 6 of 15 when he's in the game, but those matter. What those completions do, as we've seen, the game that we did where he hit, Palmer McCain for that big touchdown run. It was a perfect pass where Palmer McCain was able to make the cut in and take off, in stride. And that was really a backbreaker in that game.
11 of 21 officially last week for Chris Smiley as that 41-34 victory. And again, maybe a couple too many turnovers. Even when Mohawk took the lead, Elwood is able to make the response every time. Again, very similar to what we're hearing from Newcastle so far on the ear. Let's move over to the game that you guys called last week, Riverside against Union. No points until a field goal just before the end of the third quarter. And then the first play of the fourth quarter, you get a long touchdown pass. The first of 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter after none in the first 3. But Riverside, strong performance behind Robbie Janis, especially there, Tim.
Yeah, and that was the key. They were able to just, I think, stay pat. Exactly. I was just going to say, keep giving it to Janis, take advantage of it. When he got an open field, he was tough to bring down. And when he got into the defensive backs, it was really a big part of the game. But it was that typical 3, 4, 2 yards carried, and all of a sudden he'd break one. And that was really key. And it was a game where I think Union defense was on the field a lot. And I think in the end, that hurt them. They kind of got worn down. Not having big numbers, you got a lot of players playing both ways. When they get on offense, they never really could get any continuity going. I thought it really, kept the Scotties in track all night. And it was really a great, I think, game plan for Riverside to try to control the game offensively and pound the ball.
Yeah, and they controlled Maddox Thompson also, which was another key that Union couldn't really get anything else other than Maddox Thompson, and Lucas Stanley had a rough night passing the ball that particular night. And give credit to Riverside. I mean, they really put a lot of pressure on the ball, and Riverside defenses they're pretty darn good this year. I mean, they've only given up the 80 points in 4 games, which isn't too bad. So I mean, considering what they have been. Right. Coach Magnifico's been doing a terrific job.
They're on a first winning streak in years.
Yeah. Let's take a look at that first play. They were ground and pound all day. First play of the fourth quarter, they went play action and took the 2-score lead on the long touchdown to Zach Hare. Here's that play to start the fourth quarter.
2nd down and 6, ball at the 30-yard line. Throw across the middle. Hare has it. He has room. Hare's going to go. Zach Hare will take the ball 70 yards on the reception for the touchdown on 2nd down and 6 from the 30. And all of a sudden, the Panthers lead 9-0.
It was just all of a sudden after there was no offense. You get a field goal and less than a minute later. But Lee, you talked about it on the broadcast. It was the Robbie Janis show, and eventually they were go for play action, and they were able to hit the big one deep when they needed it.
Yeah, you're just waiting for that play action because they just kept on running. Union would stack the box, and then
kind of just draw you in to go up over top.
And a perfect call, perfect time.
Robbie Janis, 137 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also had an interception on defense there late in the game, too.
The freshman quarterback for Riverside was, just a lot of short passes, 2-3 yards, And then he had almost 100 yards passing, the 2 completions.
Right.
in the second half.
So that game, 21-6, Union 0-1 now to begin conference play, 0-3 overall. The Neshannock Lancers start with a win. That's the other game we were on Friday. They're now 3-1 with a 1-0 record in the Class 1A Big 7 Conference after a shutout victory, 21-0, which I know, Rochester, the lowest scoring team right now in the WPIL. Unfortunately, they were without their quarterback and their top 2 running backs. It is tough to think that way.
Fathom that,
They did a lot of good things offensively in that game. They ran the ball. They had a couple of double-digit play drives, but they just couldn't punch it in the end zone down the stretch, and the turnover woes definitely plagued them again. A lot of muff snaps, kind of stalled drives at times, too. There's a lot of positives that come from Rochester, and Neshannock, again, also typically a smaller line, weathering the storm, a little bend, don't break, but able to get what they needed down the stretch, especially on the defensive side of things. But the play of the game for us. Actually, we called him our MVP of the game when he got his shirt. Braden Montgomery leading that bend don't break defense got the interception again after a couple of turnovers. Bend don't break, they get an interception. He also got a sack that stalled another drive. I thought the interesting part though was Neshannock's first drive of the second half. Guys, listen to what they did. They went into the wing tee.
Against it all week, so these guys were probably tired of seeing it. Practiced against it all week, so these guys were probably tired of seeing it. I like this, though. Line up, get physical, pound the football, take some time off the clock. Again, 14-0 is – that's a big hole for this Rochester team.
And it's a big hole for Ashton Allison. How about that? A wrinkle in the offense, and Ashton Allison gets his second touchdown of the game, second touchdown of the year. This one on the ground for the tight end.
Well, we said it. He was the guy to watch offensively for this team. Has a touchdown reception, and then they put him in the backfield, much like Rochester's doing with their tight end. And now
3 touchdowns in total. 3 touchdowns in total for Ashton Allison. Hadn't had any all year. 100 total yards, so 1 receiving and 2 rushing coming out of that wing tee in the second half, which was just something a little new, is what Coach Bonge told us after the game. But it just shows another weapon, right?
Well, I think that's such a great thing to do. Anytime you can show different formations, you're making, you're catching a team off guard because they didn't see it and practice it all week. And B, your future opponents now have to put that into their practice routine. They may or may not see it in the future, but now they have to know to practice it. So you're making them practice something that they may or may not see in the future. I love when coaches do that because I think anytime you show more formations, something unique, then your future opponents, most coaches see that and they're saying, we have to be prepared for this. And then, they may not show that wing tee again for another 2-3 weeks. Mm-hmm. They may show it next week. That's the fun part about it. Well, that's the chess part of the game.
Yeah, well, we have Neshannock next week. Yeah. So hopefully I'm not a big fan of the wing tee. That me personally, I know Sasai Beaver runs it extensively still.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Wilmington up north will still.
Wilmington will run it. Yeah.
Right.
But it's very effective though.
It's a real basic offense that is, a lot of deception and it works well. And again, I'm not a big fan of it neither in the sense of 100% that's your offense. Yes, and there's teams like Wilmington and that who's done over the years had great success with it. Not saying it's a bad offense. I'm just not a big fan of it. Right. But I do believe if you could mix it in with a few different other formations and thought and looks, it makes future opponents really pay attention.
But even look at what Rochester has done the last 5 years. They'll go in that power formation, the T formation, the T backfield or power I, and then the next play they're going 4 wide.
Exactly.
So
that's what you want to do. My eyes. I think that's how you make other high school coaches really pay attention to what you're doing and make them have to defend against you.
That a 21-0 victory again for Neshannock over Rochester to give Neshannock the 1-0 start in the Big 7 Conference. Also in the Big 7, Laurel played a non-conference game against Bishop Canevin, 48-23. Canevin, the victors in that one. So Laurel now 0-4. Canevin, one of the top teams in the entire state in Class 1A. Laurel held with them, and probably this is the best overall game that they've played all year, if you can imagine that.
I'm trying to imagine that.
Well, it was closer than that. Right. Canevin started to pull away in the third and fourth quarter. I mean, they also have a pretty good guy, Meonte Mott. I'm going to give him a shout-out because he set the single-game record with 365 all-purpose yards in that game. That's a decent night.
Yeah, there's a lot of strong teams in 1A.
Yeah, we've elaborated and it hasn't changed. I'm waiting for like 1 or 2 to like drop off the radar, and it's just not happening.
No, it is not happening. 1A definitely one of the strongest ones, and 2A definitely down this year in the WPIL.
The other game in Class 1A, how about huzzah to the Cats? Shenango on the road at Northgate, 25-20. Came from behind a couple times in that one as well. But here is your stat of the week from, I would say, arguably our player of the week. Yeah. Sam Patton had 27 carries in that game. Northgate ran 26 plays total in the game. I mean, you want to talk about how Riverside wore down Union because the defense was on the field. no doubt in my mind,
Yes.
watching that was the reason why Shenango won. Sam Patton just shy of 200 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns, and great balance between him, Nico DeSalvo, and AJ Farilla as the three-headed monster running the ball. That was impressive. I mean, we've never seen Sam Patton fully healthy for a full year, and he was going lowering his shoulder, using the speed. He I think, completely surprised the Northgate defense, and a well-deserved victory on the road, especially for Shenango.
Yeah, the coaches, saw something that they figuring they could be able to run the ball, and they took advantage of that. So because Sam Patton, definitely a good arm, for sure, but they've struggled a little bit offensively. Hey, put the ball on the ground.
Yeah,
let's run them over, and it's worked. And we talked a little bit about Northgate in the preview show that might be a team to look out for.
Mm-hmm.
And Shenango,
I think they still are a team to look out for, but Shenango,
wow,
they even when they're having years that aren't as great these last few years, they still compete against the top dogs. I mean, they were. They had a chance at a 40-yard field goal a couple years ago to beat Southside on the road, and then ended up having a penalty and never got the snap off. I mean, it's just those little things that have kind of killed them, but they've always been right in there in those big games. And they're going to have another one against Southside. We'll preview that one coming up, but a big home game against Southside coming up this Friday as well. That wraps up the games on Friday. There was one Saturday game, and that Wing T was in full force. 56-0 over Kennedy Catholic. Wilmington winning up there in District 10. Hounds have still never lost to Kennedy Catholic. 5 different players scoring a touchdown. Yes, there was a lot of garbage time touchdowns with the backup players in there, but still it shows what the diversity of that offense can do, that now they have 6 different players who have got a rushing touchdown on year. 7, actually, excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you want in that type of offense. You want to have a lot of different bodies out there and people seeing, the different things you can do. And like I said, deception in that offense is huge. I mean, you can have that inside handoff, you can have the outside, you can have end around. There's a lot of different ways you can use that offense. A quarterback can keep it,
but you need a quarterback.
You have to have a quarterback to run that offense. You're 100% right.
Yes.
If you do not have your best athlete who can throw a small pass or even over the middle, draw you in and throw it over top, that really hammers you from being successful. But,
Yeah, Wesley Vasquez
is also.
How about that? He's only rushed it 5 times this year because he's able to distribute it to everyone else. Haven't had to use his legs as much, but you got to be able to know, hey, do I keep? Do I pitch? Do I hand it off? So, hey, they're doing well, 3-1. They are off this week, and then we'll be taking on Farrell. They thought that they really wanted to get a game, couldn't find one, and basically said, you know what, maybe we'll take our bye week, make sure we're rested up before that big region game against the Class 2A Farrell students.
Always a huge game.
That's the big rival.
Absolutely, it is. So that LCAP recap of all the games from last week. 7 games last week. I believe we have, with Wilmington being off, we have, again, a 7-game slate here coming this week as well. No conference against conference games coming here this week on Friday or Saturday. We're going to step aside one more time. When we come back, we're going to go around the county, get some recaps of games and situations from everybody across the County of Champions, get some information from them, and then when we'll look at the Week 4. Is it Week 4? I don't know. You guys keep confusing me.
It's Week 4 to me.
It's officially, according to the PIAA, Week 4. According to us, it's the fifth week of the year.
It's the 5th week of the year, but the 4th week.
Either way, after this week, it is the midway point.
There you go.
Oh, don't be throwing the X and Y and all that in there. We're going to start talking knock-yock jokes when we come back here on the Lawrence County SportsNet podcast, Beyond the Scoreboard, here at lcsportsnet.com.
Don't get left out to dry. Call the Penn Ohio Bottled Water Company for the fastest and most efficient bottled water delivery service in the area. Penn Ohio offers bottled water ranging from 16.9-ounce bottles to 5-gallon jugs, perfect for your next event or office water cooler system. Also, don't forget to ask about their custom labeling options. Visit PennOhioBottledWater.com for more information and to get a quote on their delivery services. Whether it's at home, in the office, or on the sidelines, Penn Ohio has you covered.
Thank you for calling Axe. Where can we take you today?
To work, to the store, to Grandma's house. Axe can get you there, but it's much more than a ride. It's a joyride.
I'm helping people. I'm getting them out of their house. I'm taking them to their doctors, to the grocery store.
They say I'm entertaining. Okay, we laugh, we joke, we sing, we tell stories.
They're like family to us.
Even if it's the same day, to schedule your joyride, call Axe today.
I love what I do because coming in every day is different.
How can you not enjoy these kids coming up and hugging you and giving you these great smiles all throughout the day?
You guys ready? Seeing the progress that our kids make every single day is one of the reasons I love coming to school.
What should we do? We have fun.
LCAP Early Learning Centers is hiring. Help empower young minds in Lawrence County and become a superhero today. Apply at lcap.org.
Glad you're tuning in as we recap the third week of the year, preview the fourth week of the year. I said that wrong. Recap the fourth and preview the fifth week of the season. We just need to. I'm for the first time in my life, I'm going to agree with you, Bob Greenberg. Ban week 0.
Amen to that.
Yeah, and 6 classes. But that's another story.
That's blame 6 classes. We don't need to ban it yet.
Yeah. I'm a fan of 5 classes.
I think 5 would work very well.
Yeah, I think. Honestly, I think you can do it by sport.
Which they kind of do already. I mean, you got 4 for volleyball and soccer. There's talk that might be changing as well.
Yeah, I agree that 5 would
volleyball looks like it might be moving to 6 in 2 years. Just keep basketball 6 so I can have my 3 days in Hershey.
Yeah, that's all he cares.
Basketball, I can totally understand.
Yeah, that's fine by me.
That's Tim Continenza and Limo, and I'm James Dotson. Here as we digress. Let's digress a little bit more because we can.
Oh boy!
Hey, why not? We're glad you're tuning in. If you're watching live on Facebook Live or on YouTube, if you're not yet, you should probably be tuning in because there's a big volleyball match going on right now. Over 10,000 down at the Peterson Event Center for a regular season volleyball match, and Penn State number 3, Pitt number 1.
Was that a Panther? I guess not.
I'm gonna have to apologize to my Pitt fans, and including my mother-in-law. I'm sorry, a Pitt volleyball alum who.
That was definitely a lion.
Yeah, that was definitely a lie. Sorry. I'm wearing white in spirit down there tonight, but no, it's gonna be a blast. I've been there for one of those Pitt Penn State games the last couple of years. It is an absolute fun time. Actually, that was my 3rd date with my now wife, was going to a Pitt Penn State volleyball game. How about that?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And did they win?
Well, someone won.
Somebody won.
Yeah. You both won. Actually, she's still with you.
Yeah,
exactly.
I believe Pitt in 5 sets, but don't quote me on that.
Okay.
Let's get back to the high school sports realm as we continue here. Let's actually, before we get to previewing this week's games, I do want to give another shout out to Coach Mazzocco, and I'm glad he mentioned the offensive line on the way out. He said, no, I forgot. I got to give a shout out to their strength and conditioning coach, Mark Kaiser. So I thought I got everybody, but how can I forget Coach Kaiser? I said, well, you know what? Probably because he's right now printing us some more shirts there at the Red Zone. So big shout out to them as well.
Yes.
We also have another shout out to give. If you are going to the Crane Room after the game on Friday night, say the word flag, and you will get a free order of Crane Chip appetizers.
And that's not because of all the flags?
No, that's not because of the 130 penalty yards that both Riverside and Union had last week. No, nothing to do with that. That's because we have flag football has officially been
about that?
adopted. Girls flag football is a new spring sport beginning next scholastic year.
2025-26. It will be a WPL championship.
And what's the specifications? You can run two at the same time because it's basically running across the field, 53-yard width.
53 yards long and 33 yards wide is the field. So they had a nice article in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette today about the different rules of flag football, and it's been a growing sport, and sort of like a slow pitch softball's trying to get PIAA approval, but the flag football's just taken off, sort of like girls wrestling did.
Yeah.
It's just taken off like leaps and bounds. And when the NFL and the Steelers are behind flag football, it's a big thing in the area. So kudos to them. So it should be fun, and see if any of the county schools up here will pick up flag football.
That will be fun to see. And we were kind of talking about it off the air, too, of, how do you set that up? What'd you say? Seneca Valley, that already has a club program of it. They run the same offense, you said?
Yeah,
like
they run the same
does?
place.
Yeah.
They run the same place as the boys do.
We should have asked Coach Mazzocco if he would
double teaming is it?
Yeah, back away from the track coaching duties and take on a flag football
spring,
or maybe one of his assistants.
Yeah,
give him an opportunity to be the head coach, whoever. It may be,
give a young coach a try to.
There's actually girls rugby out there too in high school.
There is. I've seen that.
Yeah,
rugby is not PIAA.
No,
right? Yeah, that would be that's another sport I would love to see continue to grow. That and lacrosse here.
I know North Allegheny
PA.
has the rugby team down there. So,
well. We'll go talk with Mr. Gore, and we'll see what information we can get between him and Mr. Rizzuto, because I would love to see some lacrosse especially, but also a rugby. And we've seen it. You can do these co-ops. Look at what the PIHL does with hockey. Look at soccer staying around because of it. But yeah, I think it'd be nice to be able to have hey, Neshannock's going to run a rugby program, and Shenango's going to run a lacrosse program, and then anybody from the county can go and play essentially Lawrence County lacrosse. Run through whatever one school and kind of split up the duties.
Well, that makes total sense. I mean, it's the way to introduce a new sport to a community, and as it grows, you can add to different schools and different co-ops and see where it goes from there.
Well,
but that's exactly what you need to do.
They do it with hockey.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, hopefully, fingers crossed that when we're doing this 5-6 years from now, we're going to be able to get some rugby and some lacrosse here when we go around the county with our recaps. Let's do that right now. Around the county, we have 4 schools from around the county who have sent us some updates of what's going on in their schools. So let's send it out. Mr. Manny Retort's going to kick us off as we go around the county here at lcsportsnet.com. Maybe. Nope, maybe not. That's not the right one. We'll try that again here. Give me 1 second. We will go around the county here eventually.
Music sounded interesting, though.
Yeah, I thought that could be the music bed for it, you know.
Still not. There we go. How so we got the right one going?
Yeah, get that right file today, James.
Welcome back. This is Manny Retort reporting this week's Around the County for Mohawk Warriors Sports. We'll start it off with the volleyball team had a sweep on Beaver Falls last Thursday, but lost to Shenango 3-0. They still sit at 500 with a record of 4-4, but look to improve that Thursday against Riverside. In golf, Sarah Hampson, Cam O'Lear, Drew Rona, and Bobby Fadden all qualifying for Whitfield playoffs next Monday at Willowbrook Country Club. I heard that's a beautiful course. In girls soccer, they still are riding the high horse even though they lost to Eden Christian Academy. They're able to take down the Southside Rams on Monday. James, I know you were in town for that one, and I know you were impressed by the Lady Warriors soccer team. The boys soccer team, on the other hand, continue to struggle, dropping games to Quaker Valley and Keystone Oaks. They look to bounce back against Hopewell Thursday. Now to football, it's our homecoming game this Friday against Beaver Falls with kickoff set for 7 o'clock. I know Coach McCutcheon improved on a couple of things from last week's loss to Elwood and look to have the boys come out firing Friday. That's all from Warrior Nation. For Around the County, this is Manny Retort from Mohawk High School, reporting for LC SportsNet.
Hello, this is Lucas Walzer coming to you from Neshannock High School to discuss the weekly sports recap. Girls tennis lost a perennial powerhouse Beaver on Monday, but Wednesday and Thursday, freshman Maddie Arrow secured her place at Whippeal by finishing as the AA singles runner-up at the sectional tournament at Blackhawk. The singles AA Whippeal will be this Wednesday at Bethel Park. Girls volleyball went undefeated this last week with victories over Beaver Falls and 3 straight sets over Shenango. The Lancers lost the first set versus the Wildcats, but then won 3 straight sets for a victory. They are now 3-1 overall. The boys soccer team suffered a loss in both of their matches this week. On Tuesday, the team went down early 2-0 against Beaver County Christian High School. The Lancer got on the scoreboard just a little too late. The Lancers also lost to Eden Christian Academy on Thursday, 3-0. With both losses last week, the team's overall record now is 5-3. The golf team had 3 matches last week. On Monday, the Lancers had a tough loss to Elwood City. However, the Lancers were able to bounce back with wins over Union and Shenango, bringing their overall record to 7-4. The boys will have their Whippeal tournament on Monday at Tanglewood, while the girls have their Whippeal tournament Tuesday at Fox Run. The cross-country team had a meet last Tuesday at Beaver Falls against Mohawk and Beaver Falls. The Lancers finished second place as a team with Mohawk, capturing first. The Lancers cross-country team will prepare for a race at Hershey this Saturday, where only the top 7 runners will compete. That's all from Lancer Country for now. For Around the County, this is Lucas Walzer for Neshannock's Weekly Sports Recap, reporting for LC SportsNet.
I'm Ash Jermaine, and I'm here with the WLTV News team. The varsity volleyball team lost against Elwood City this week. A good game. Make sure to dress the theme and show your support next home game. The varsity golf team played Union. With a great game, they overtook the Scotties. The cross-country team ran against Riverside, Mohawk, Shenango, and Rochester last night. Aiden Mack had a great night for the varsity boys and finished third with a time of 17:45, followed by Patrick Doherty and Isaiah Servideo, Aaron Mack, and Jacob Kink having good races as well. The varsity girls, Valerie Hauser won with a time of 23:02, followed by teammates Brooke Chiodo and Nora Johns. Good job, guys.
Hey Scotties, this is Ellie Smith from Union High School with your weekly sports recap. Union's golf team played at home yesterday. Landon Eckert shot an 85 and Jalen Peace shot an 87. They compete again in Tri-County on October 1st. The volleyball team hosted Western Beaver last night. Both JV and varsity won. JV won in 3 sets and varsity won in 4. Olivia Benedict had 8 aces, Charlotte Durallo had 5 kills, and Ireland Fisher had 5 blocks. They play again tomorrow at Southside. In the cross-country match yesterday, Aaliyah Croson placed 4th. The football team also hosts Western Beaver on Friday for their homecoming game. That concludes this week's recap. This is Ellie Smith with LC SportsNet.
Thanks again to those 4 giving us the recaps from half of the county. Again, special thanks Manny Retort of Mohawk, Lucas Walzer of Neshannock, Ashton Main from Laurel, and their Ellie Smith from Union as we bring back in Limon and Tim Continenza. A fun little wrinkle.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Yeah. Anytime we get the schools to give the reports and get the young students involved, it's just so much better to hear, and it's awesome to hear those 4 schools, give an update about what's going on.
Yep, and Shenango and Wilmington unable to get theirs sent in to us in time. I was talking with their instructors who are, thanks to the instructors as well, who are helping to facilitate all this. Just it's homecoming week at a lot of these schools, and illness is going on, people in and out, and a lot of these do the productions. They don't have class every day with these kids either, so trying to find them to do it. Long story short, we thank them for all their work, and we look forward to seeing more of their and more schools coming in over the next coming weeks as well. Let's move forward now, the week ahead, and let's look at the slate of games. We mentioned, again, Wilmington off this week. They're 3-1 now. They will take on Farrell next week, but they will use that bye week, hopefully get a little healthier, a couple guys banged up. Coach Fillion, though, and his staff and this team, how about this? They've only attempted 4 passes all year, Limon. Only 4. Old school, baby.
I love it.
I don't love it, actually, but if it works for you.
Well,
Hey, of those 4 passes, 2 were touchdowns.
Yeah, if you like,
but that's who they are.
Yeah, if you like old school football, that's great.
It's more than that. It's just who they are.
Right.
It's,
And I
it's
understand
what they've always been.
Hang on, I read the wrong thing. So it's more than 4. They ran 4 last week.
Okay.
It's 18 total for the whole year. But still, you're talking about 4 per game, basically.
If you can run the ball and shorten the game, great.
That's what they have done.
Yeah, that's what they've been doing for
a great
years.
strategy. Yeah,
without a doubt.
If you can pull it off, and they have over the years.
Let's take a look at the games in Class 1A featuring our county teams in the WPIAL. Wilmington also, again, remember, in 1A. Farrell is 2A, but that is a region game for the record, as they have the mixed regions up there in District 10. Laurel and Rochester, hey, something's got to give. Somebody's got to get rid of that goose egg in the win column on Friday night. And this is also a very intriguing one because Rochester, coming into the game last week, had negative pass yards. They ended up, I think, with 31 passing yards against Neshannock last week. Laurel had 14 rushing yards against Bishop Canevin last week. It's so interesting in that regard. Laurel throwing the ball very well this year so far with Lucas Santini.
Yes, Santini's been having a nice year. Yeah.
Rochester's been basically reliant upon the ground game. They haven't had Antonio Laurie all year. They haven't had their number 2 rusher in Carter Mason since week 1. Possible that one is back. Possible both of them are back this Friday night. You got to be prepared for that. But if you're Laurel, you just got to come out and say, hey, we played our best game. That was a tough opponent last week, Lee. Let's go and take the next step, go on the road and make a statement.
Yeah, and Santini's, if he can get on track, he's thrown for, he got 6 TDs, I believe. Luca does.
Over 800 yards.
Over 800 yards, so which is weird to hear. Usually you're hearing the running backs leading the way, but Lucas Santini's coming in on his own.
At top of the county passing, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, he is at top of the county. And then, I think what they're looking for is someone on the rushing game to step it up. Obviously, you got Jackson Saunders, a player who has shown at times to be able to move the ball. So maybe they get a little bit more from their rushing game.
Saunders, Carlson, Jack Miles even getting some carries running out of there. It's almost kind of a shotgun wing tee, kind of the way that they sometimes run their jet sweeps.
It's a modification. There's no question.
But it's been more passing game for sure. Again, just over 800 yards passing for Lucas Santini. That game down at Rochester on Friday night between the Spartans and the Rams. Flip it around from 2 winless teams in the conference to the 2 1-0 teams at the top of the conference in Class 1A in Shenango, hosting Southside on Friday. That's going to be I think a game to, again, really see where exactly, Lee, this Shenango team is. Again, a huge win last week. Sam Patton running like his hair was on fire, almost 200 yards on the ground for the quarterback. Obviously, Southside, the defending WPIAL runner-ups, they're 3-0 on the year. They're playing some good football. They got a lot of new pieces out there, though. We still don't know exactly what Southside is because they haven't had the toughest schedule to begin the year yet either. This is an intriguing game all around. You don't know what to expect.
Yeah, they only given up 36 points as a Southside beater all year, but like you said, the schedule hasn't been the strongest, and they love that wing tee. But
you got to prepare for it.
Yeah, and they run it to perfection too. They're very, very well, very disciplined team. I think we had them last year on the air once, and they're a very disciplined team to watch.
I think that this team is definitely a step down from where they were a year ago. A reason why their offense is so good is the fact that they had so many 2, 3, 4-year starters that have been worked together. Now you have to replace 9 of the players on the offense.
But so far, so good.
Yeah. It's like fitting in a puzzle piece, it feels like at times, Tim, the way that wing tee works.
Well, that's exactly what it is. I mean, when you do that all the time, you're bringing up players within the system to fill a void. And, sometimes a player may have a little bit more talent or a little bit more speed or whatever the case may be, but it really comes down to the offensive line being able to control it, and then you being able to use the plays that are available through the wing tee to your perfection. And obviously right now they have done that. They've scored 121 points. I mean, I don't care who you're playing. If you put up 121 points, through the first 4 weeks of the season, you've done something right.
7:00 game. believe it's homecoming there as well at Shenango High School.
Well, a lot of bells are going to be going off at the Trib show.
No, we're going to have to get the bells going next week. I got to get that sound on here. Right now we just got the... Yeah, so
there you go.
Yeah, that's
not good for homecoming.
No.
No.
Yep, we're getting there too for sure. There is a third game featuring a county team in the Big Seven. The Shannock at 1-0 in conference play at Northgate. So back-to-back home games for the Flames. What's crazy about that game against Shenango for Northgate last week? First play they ran from scrimmage was a 79-yard touchdown. Second play they ran from scrimmage was a 75-yard touchdown. The rest of the game, they had about 80 yards of offense.
Yeah, that's
Shenango
incredible.
made the adjustment. Huge credit to them, but I mean, you talked about the weapons. That's a good testament to that, and the Shannock's going to have to be, on top of their game because they've given up some pretty big rushing totals in their games so far, including last week against Rochester.
Yeah, and the Shannock's better be prepared, and hopefully they can jump out early and get when you're driving down 79 down there down the Northgate. You want to get an early lead if you can, and then try to get that running game going against Northgate.
Yeah, and force Northgate to be one-dimensional the other way in that one as well. Let's jump up to Class 2A. Mohawk 1-2 taking on Beaver Falls, coming in at 0-4. Both teams 0-1 in conference play. Yeah, Beaver Falls, what a downfall that has been. They do have a pretty big threat in Ajon McKelvey. A couple touchdowns on the year, 14 catches. They're doing a lot more having to pass, A, because they're behind, but B, because they're not able to run the ball at all. Tim, talk about Mohawk, though, and what they need to keep working to improve upon because they're putting up the points, but their record just doesn't show it. 1-2 coming in.
The points are not the problem. Obviously, they got athletes in the right positions that can get things done. I think defense is what you're looking at, and just getting off the field on certain downs. I think that's what they need to do. And I think this is a chance to kind of get that feeling back and take advantage of it. It's a tough matchup, but it's a matchup it's winnable for them, and it's a game. I think when you look at it against people, they should be able to. I mean, they've given up 174 points this year.
Too many chunk plays.
Yeah, so
Mohawk. Yeah,
you got to take advantage of that.
Blake Logan leading the way, 18 catches on the year, tops in the county. For that one, and to your point with turnovers for Mohawk, 5 touchdowns for Bobby Fadden, 8 interceptions on the year. Talk with Coach McCutcheon. No, they need to limit those giveaways a little bit more coming up down the stretch.
Yeah, they want Bobby to be Bobby, but he needs to.
Yeah.
They need to rein him in a little bit more.
You like the gunslinger mentality, right, Lee? But you gotta contain it.
Yeah, and that's what they're trying to do right now.
It's really more throwing into coverage is his biggest thing. He tries to, at least in the games I've seen, try to thread the needle between two defenders and either A, overthrow him or B, underthrow him, and that's when the turnovers happen. He's such a great athlete that you want to get him out in the open. He has a good combination with Logan, so you got to take advantage of that and then go from there.
Also in Class 2A's MAC Conference, Elwood City traveling down to Freedom. Elwood City 1-0 in conference play, 3-0 overall, looking for their first 4-0 start since 1997.
Wow. That's when Mark Schoss was broadcasting the games for one of the radio stations.
Cue your Shawsy toss right there.
He was broadcasting through the lean years and through some of the good years, and that was one of them.
That was, one of the few. They only have 2 conference championships in their over 100-year history, as crazy as that is. They're coming up on the 100-year anniversary of their WPL championship back in 1925.
Wow. Looking at that conference, Elwood City's got a chance.
Oh, absolutely.
They do.
Really, not the strongest of conferences on paper, anyways. Looking at Elwood City's got
They're
a
sitting at
realistic chance.
3-0. Obviously, this is a team that I think is growing with confidence each week. Once they were able to get a couple wins under their belts and get that big win in Neshannock, I thought, those are the things that you build on, and I think that's what they're able to do. You obviously know you got the running game with Palmer McCain, and you have to worry about that. But you have enough of a feeder program with the quarterback and the wideouts just to keep them, keep everybody honest. And their defense is just making enough plays, kind of bend, don't break. They've been able to hold teams on fourth down a few times. They've been able to get off the field when necessary. I think that they're a team that each week, I think it's just they're going to get growing more and more confidence. The thing is, you just want to see how far that confidence can take a team that has never been there that often.
Yeah, the community support is
huge. Oh, yeah.
And as if you needed anything else, Lee, are you ever going to bet against Dan Bradley?
Never.
Yeah.
No,
exactly.
It's not happening.
Whether it's football or basketball.
Yeah,
no
exactly.
chance
No,
whatsoever.
No.
Let's talk about the games that we will have coverage of on Friday night. Let's start with the two that these two here, the game that they are going to be covering. Western Beaver traveling to Sox Russo's Stadium to take on the Union Scotties. Homecoming there as well. That's actually just Lee. That's Eric and Lee. Apologies there.
Yeah.
But Union still looking for their first win.
Scotties.
Western Beaver, this is what I noticed. Their 2 wins. They're 2-1 on the year. Their 2 wins are 38-0 over Rochester and 49-6 over Beaver Falls. On a normal year, we're saying, oh my goodness, this is a team that is going to be insane. This is great. Not saying they're not going to be, but we still really, I don't think, know what we're getting out of this Golden Beavers team. You obviously know you got Javen Peel, what he did last year, Lee, but I look at it this way too. They've really not shown much of a running game themselves. This might be a game, especially what we saw Union do against Neshannock. Can Union run the ball? Can Union control the trenches in this game and force it into a passing game? That could be a recipe for success for the Scotties.
It could be. It's going to be interesting to see how things play out. But Javen Peel, he set the freshman record last year, 2,889 passing yards as a freshman. So I mean, that's on pace for over 10,000 career yards. If you look at that guy.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think for Union is take advantage of opportunities when they present themselves. I mean, last week, I thought they had opportunities and they couldn't cash it in. And they gave their opponent opportunities to stay in the game a little longer, keep it close. And then a couple of big plays goes against them, like that, Zach Hare touchdown pass. And all of a sudden they're down by more than a touchdown. And I think they are a type of team that when you're in the red zone, you have to score. You have to find a way to get, put the points on the board. If you get a turnover on a short field, you have to take advantage of it. If that means gambling on fourth down and maybe, trying to get that extra 3-4 yards, maybe even on 4th and 6, 4th and 7, you may want to take it if you're on that side of the 50. But if you're on the other side, you're putting you're gambling at that point. But I really think for Union to be successful more than anything, they can't leave points on the scoreboard. They have to put them on the scoreboard. They can't leave them off the scoreboard.
Yeah, and that's one we talked about co-ops. That's what Western Beaver is, the co-op with half their team is from Lincoln Park.
Right, exactly. And that's where that's where you see Western Beaver throwing the football. People listen to that. You still have a lot of the O-line coming from Western Beaver, the old school ground and pound. And then
the athletes.
And a lot of the athletes on the outside, including, I believe, Javen Peel, a Lincoln Park student.
Yes, he is.
So, I think it's going to be interesting, though, because I think Union I think there's no thinking about it. They will do better running the football than they did against that Riverside team that I think is going to be sneaky good and competitive the rest of the way in that Class 2A conference because of their line and the way that they have played so far this year.
Yeah.
But let's also just throw in a little tidbit. Coach Kim Needballa's father, 31 years as the head coach at Western Beaver. This is the first time that Coach Nee, the younger Coach Nee, facing against his father's former team. So just a little fun legacy game right there.
Yeah, a little thing in there. And real quick, Javen Peel, he was ranked the number 3 freshman quarterback in the country last year. So he's got a lot of potential. He was going to go to another school and decided, I think I'm going to come back to Western Beaver and play down here, which is, so take advantage of what he can. But he's the real deal. We saw him last year as a freshman, and he can be very special.
That is a 7 o'clock start as well. That is also homecoming. Don't know if I mentioned that at Union. They will announce their homecoming queen at halftime, king post game. For that one, a little bit of a different one there.
Yeah, that's different.
Yeah. And Newcastle will do both king and queen ceremonies during pregame. That's the other game where Tim and I will be. Newcastle at 3-0, hosting 1-2 Knock, the Knock Knights, who had a great year last year. Lee,
Yes,
I want to
they
ask
did.
you about the Knock Knights a little bit, because it's very interesting when they return your quarterback from a great team last year, but he's not playing quarterback. He's moved to wide receiver as they got a transfer in from Armstrong.
Yeah.
Colt Sprankle is the quarterback, and a 1-2 record, but some very tough opponents in there, and their win came up against a pretty darn good North Catholic team.
Yeah, so I'm curious if that Sprinkle is related to the Sprinkle grocery chains.
With an A, Sprankle.
Oh, Sprankle.
Like a sprained ankle, Sprankle.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
I heard the name though.
Yep.
But anyways, it's been that Knock team. You said they're expecting to be pretty good this year, but off to that rough start. But you said North Catholic, a very formative victory for sure. So be a good challenge for Newcastle, and you heard Coach Mo said earlier that such an important game right now for a committee for down the road.
Yeah,
No question about that.
You're gonna have to deal with the passing game. It looks like.
Yeah.
I mean, not a whole lot of running for Knock
they like
yet.
to open
but
it up.
Yeah, Cody Mullen with 4 touchdown receptions on the year so far, Tim. But this has been a fun Newcastle team to watch so far. They have a chance to do what we've talked about week in and week out on here. They can be undefeated going into conference play. They got to hold serve one more time.
It really does. And what you're just talking about puts a lot of pressure on their defensive front seven. So they're going to be able to have to, contain the quarterback, put pressure on them. Maybe throw the ball a little sooner than they want. And then you're really putting your defensive back on islands there where you're saying you have to shut them down, whoever you're regarding. So it's going to be interesting to see how that dynamic works. But I think, just statistically looking at Newcastle, their defense has improved each week. I mean, they had the shootout in the first week, with General McLean, but they only gave up 19 the following week. Obviously, they had the rain out, but only 7 early points and then a shutout from that point on last week. So I'm curious to see how this defense responds to this type of challenge coming up.
Yeah, get there early because it's going to be a nice crowd, and then get down to the crane room afterwards.
Yes.
And say that word flag.
Flag
Exactly,
is the winning word of the
Yeah.
week. Again, go down to the crane room, say flag.
Should be a nice crowd out there, though.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, it is homecoming. You're always going to get a good crowd. But again, talked about the Elwood City community behind their team. You know what Newcastle does.
It's fun, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And this is the last game you're going to see at home for a while at Taggart, too, because then they start conference play.
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk about it. There should have been 2, not 3 conferences. I'm not going to go into it. That's another story for another day. I'm not going to go all John Hanson start just screaming into the mic about it. But 3 games to start conference play are all on the road against probably 3 of the top 5 teams in the WPIL in Class 4A at Aliquippa, at Montour, and at West Allegheny. This is a big one.
Yeah.
And Coach talked about it because with only 2 teams guaranteed spots out of each conference, well, let's say worst case scenario, Newcastle loses all of those home games. Previous years, it was basically it's over. You're not top 3. You're not going to get it. Now with the wild card system, they can take both wild cards coming out of the same conference.
Yeah.
It is very possible because, and this kind of shows it because I think it's very. If I was prognosticating, I think Knock is going to finish 2nd or 3rd in their conference. Newcastle probably 3rd or 4th, just realistically with what we see with Montour and Aliquippa. Coach, I'm trying to give you a little more bulletin board material just in case you need. I wanted to ask him about that. Darn it! But nonetheless, if you get the 4th place team out of one conference beating a playoff team from another conference, that speaks volumes, and that's something the committee has to look at.
No question. I mean, anytime you have a head-to-head type thing to look at, you got to do it, and it's the only way to compare it. Is who beat whom and when they happen, and it's going to be important. I mean, every game's important because there's only 9 games. I keep saying that, but you really have to take advantage of it. And you heard that urgency in Coach here today. He was basically saying, every game matters. We want to win every game possible. And it starts again this Friday night. You got to be 1-0 this week. I know it's an old cliche, but that's really what you got to be talking about each week. Because as you're talking about the 3 weeks coming up, you can't think that far ahead. And you want to keep your kids within the system of this week. Let's be 1-0 this week and then get back into it and try to see what we can do to get on the road to be 1-0 the following week against Aliquippa. But you can't really think about Aliquippa. You got knocked right now.
You don't want to think about Aliquippa.
Exactly. And I understand what you're saying. I totally get that. But as just a mindset, I really think you can't get too far ahead of yourself. It's easy to procrastinate about what's coming up and seeing that juggernaut. But the bottom line is you got to be 1-0 this week. And Knock is the opponent, and it's home. So you got to take advantage of it. Winning home games is huge in every sport, especially in football.
And remember, whatever the committee decides is going to be wrong.
Oh, absolutely,
100%. Yeah, but groupthink's terrible.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but at least it's in the hands of the committee members and the humans, and not just a Gardner Point computer system. Might be the first time I've ever said that with my wishing the BCS has been back for years. But
I don't mind Gardner Point. Well, at least the mathematical type system that they had set up.
Tim, you say it every year about the system that Ohio uses.
I like it for this simple reason. It counts your wins. So there's no preseason or games don't count for what happens. So like, let's say, Newcastle does go undefeated during their non-conference schedule. Well, those games count for some. And now they count because there's a wild card type thing. But you go to these other conferences where you have more games, it doesn't necessarily count. And you can say, well, we finished second in our conference, but you're 5-5 or whatever the case may be. When you have where every game matters and you earn points for that, it gives value to the entire schedule.
And more points for winning against a higher classification.
And that's the thing. And you give, like, for example, if you're a 2A and you're playing a 3A, you're going to get a few more extra points for that. You're going to get secondary points on that level. And more than anything, which I like the way Ohio does is you get, it's important for your schedule to play well. If you have a team that goes 10-0, but their schedule only has their opponents, when I say schedule, only wins 10 or 15 games for the entire season, you're not getting any secondary points. And that's what matters. But if you get a schedule where your opponents also win, so when you're defeating a team that's 7-3 or who is 6-4, or you're beating a team that's 9-1, and that's their one loss, you're getting all those secondary points for their victories. And that's how I think it really matters.
It's another podcast for another day.
Yeah. And I'm just
we
saying,
could be here all night with that.
But that's where the Sargent system really matters is the secondary and actually even a third level points that if they necessary for tiebreakers. And I think that's what matters. It's not just wins that you have, but it's actually your opponent's wins that matter.
Yeah, and then games on Thursdays also. That matters also. That throws into that point. So
coming up next time on Beyond the Scoreboard,
Thursdays and Saturdays. Yes, expand the schedule.
In all seriousness, and I do want to give a serious response to that right there because of the fact that you look up in District 10 how many Thursday and Saturday games.
Oh my gosh!
Because they're a 5-man crew and they're still struggling. To get it. There's talk that you could be seeing 5-man crews much more frequently across the entire Commonwealth. I've even heard a couple of districts in the center of the state might be going down to 4-man crews. 5 is tough enough.
Yeah. I mean, that's really bare bones at 5.
So Lee has this message for you.
For those of you who think you could do a better job, please go to PIAA.org. Click on how to become official. Take your test and see how you can do, because they need you.
You know what, Lee? I need to do something here real quick.
We need to record that.
That's what we're going to go with. Right? I want to see if I can do that.
Well, I have your armchair official commercial.
That is true. I need to get that going as well.
That I play during my broadcast for North Allegheny. Yeah. So.
Unfortunately, no. I don't think I can do it from that. We'll get that after we go off the air. Matt wants to go home. Thank you again, Matt Flannery, our producer extraordinaire. As always, great stuff from him. Big thanks to Coach Mazzocco coming in the studio. He is 1-0 already for the week because of that, coming in and talking with us
no
here.
Question about
He gets 3 points.
He gets our MVP for the week.
We get some extra shirts for him. Hey, if it's his way, we got to have 5 lineman shirts ready to go if they come out victorious on Friday.
You know what to do.
Yeah. Well, make sure you know what to do. Let Penn Ohio Bottled Water do the heavy lifting and bring refreshing water straight to your home or work. The Beyond the Scoreboard podcast each and every week, delivered by Penn Ohio Bottled Water.
Who was the strength coach? You forgot to mention that was over at...
Mr. Kaiser. Yes, Mark Kaiser.
We got to tell him to put more shirts up for this week.
Yeah, Mark, if you're listening, we need a few more ready to go for your boys. That's for sure. Big thanks, Limon, coming in, pinch hitting. Give a shout out to Eric Thomas. I know he's listening as he's out and about across the state. He'll be back on Friday to join you there at Sox Russo's. Again, Union hosting Western Beaver. Tim and I will be at Taggart Stadium as Newcastle hosts Knock. For the entire crew here, I'm James Dotson saying so long. Stay tuned. 2 big games coming up on Friday. You'll catch them here on Lawrence County SportsNet, powered by LCAP. Your voice for Lawrence County sports.
The gold ball headed home to Newcastle.
This is the